Good morning. Good morrow to everyone. Hope we're all doing well. It is Monday, July 29th. We've got 3 days inclusive of this one to wrap up the month. And what a wrap up to the month it's going to be because we have the FOMC meeting this week on Wednesday. So that's going to be an interesting event. What we got cooking from there is I guess, uh, the I don't want to say final, but we've pretty much got the final event with an expected no rate change, if you will. So the FOMC, if you go into FedWatch futures, the first thing that we're going to look at today, um, let's see here. We've got the event that comes out. It's a 2 day event, but like mainly what the announcement of the rate decision as well as the press conference and all that Q&A is going to be this Wednesday, July 31st, starting at 2 p.m. You can see there's about a 96% chance that rates do stay the same. And then there's no meeting in August, then we have a meeting in September. The meeting in September doesn't even price in the chances of the rates actually staying the same, right? It's a near 90% chance that we got one rate cut priced in. So that's what's going to be on top of the list this week, I think, in terms of opportunities for market moves, right? And it's going to be a jam-packed week. Starting just on Tuesday, what we've got, what we've got on Tuesday is the first big tech earnings report of this week. If we take a look at that, let me just refresh what it was. I think it's like AMD, if I'm not mistaken. So AMD and Microsoft come out on Tuesday, after hours. So AMD has seen a pretty decent decline with overall equity markets pulling lower and tech pulling lower. The Magnificent Seven pulling lower, right? Everything's getting pulled lower right now into one of the biggest earnings weeks of this earnings season. We've got AMD and Microsoft that come out on Tuesday. Those are going to be big movers. Last week we saw Google and Tesla pull markets even lower. On Wednesday with the FOMC, right? After the FOMC we have Meta. We have also on Thursday after the bell, Amazon and Apple, which Amazon has been holding out okay. Apple's been holding out okay as well. So there aren't massive changes, but the earnings are going to fluctuate the moves and the markets. Now with the FOMC and these earnings, what we have in the SPX is 100-point expected move. So that's very, very big. That's a very significant move that's expected in these markets throughout this week. So a lot of people are going to be watching for those, and it might be a quieter start to the week. The way I see these markets right now, we just got a pretty significant move to the downside. There is a decent amount of volume realistically. Right now, we've got about like 160,000 contracts traded on the S&P, if I'm not mistaken. Where is it? Yeah, 168, almost 169. Let's call it 170. 170,000 contracts traded on the S&P 500 futures this morning, which is pretty solid, right? We still have about 30 minutes to go. Not really. 25 minutes to go until the market opens. So seeing numbers close to 200,000 contracts traded before the market opens are they're pretty juiced up, pretty big numbers, which can represent decent movement throughout the day. Now, if we take a look at this, there are some things around the Federal Reserve and the Treasury by modifying the maturity of its the maturity profile of its debt issuance. The Treasury Department is steering financial conditions and by extension the broader economy that can encroach on the fundamental roles of the Federal Reserve, according to a new study by Hudson Bay Capital, due to the outsized issuance of Treasury bills meddling with the central bank's ability to contain inflation, and the novel tool dubbed activist Treasury issuance has been a major market driver over the past year and is also expected to continue to play a significant role into the year ahead. So we'll see how the Fed if they do talk about this, and especially the monetary policy. The Fed dot plot is the main thing that we're going to be watching for this Wednesday, and we're going to be doing that with our team in the afternoon. In terms of other news that's starting things off, right, a huge boost to the crypto community. Former President Donald Trump has made an appearance at the 2024 Bitcoin conference in Nashville over the weekend. So note that it is election season naturally when contenders shore up needed support from swaths of the population. But Trump also described his newfound love for the strategic and geopolitical standpoint. If we don't embrace it, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin technology, China and others are going to be doing it, right? My vision is for America that is for an America that dominates the future. So Trump wasn't always that friendly to Bitcoin and was far from being an advocate. And during his time in office, he said that cryptos were a disaster waiting to happen and whose value was based on thin air, while connecting the digital assets to crime-riddled scams and threats for the US dollar. Things started to change after the launch of his NFT collection, and Trump became the first major party presidential candidate to start accepting crypto campaigns and contributions in May. There was also an opening to distinguish his platform from the current administration, which has been largely seen as taking an unfriendly stance towards the crypto industry. And we'll see how that's changed, right? We've seen a decent little pop over the last few days in Bitcoin from that. I'm laying out a plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital on the planet and Bitcoin a superpower of the world. Trump declared at the event featuring Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy, Kathy Wood, naturally, and the Winklevoss twins, Winklevoss, I don't know, from Gemini. There's never been anything like it, and most people have no idea what the hell it is. Bitcoin is not just a marvel of technology, as you know. It's a miracle of cooperation and human achievement. Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government coercion and control. If crypto is going to define the future, I want it to be mined, minted, and made in the U.S. So we'll see how that pans out, because there are several promises made at the conference, including a pledge to fire SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. And appointing a presidential advisory council to issue regulatory clarity that will let the crypto industry thrive. Other commitments include shutting down Operation Choke Point 2.0, which refers to the extensive procedures imposed on crypto businesses, as well as eliminating unclear or tough laws that stifle the sector. He also vowed to create a strategic national Bitcoin stockpile, fight CBDCs, defend the right to self-custody, and institute the responsible expansion of stablecoin to extend the dominance of the US dollar to new frontiers. This all happened right over the weekend, and there has been a lot of movement, a lot of news around just everything in general over the past week, right? Equities have been much more volatile. You can see the VIX. The VIX has been popping off as of recent, right? We've seen multiple days of VIX sustaining above the 13 level, which makes the S&P 500 futures more attractive to trade, and the NASDAQ very choppy and sloppy, realistically. So, all in all, there is a huge week ahead of opportunity, volatility, and potential tough markets to trade as well. So this is a week where lower risk and more patience is going to be required to be able to navigate these markets realistically. It's a very, very important factor to understand what the news events are and when they are in these markets, so you're not over positioned or positioned at the wrong time, if you will. So if we take a look at what's going on here with the overall market, right, the S&P 500, we have seen the struggle of the buy side over the past few days, right, last week per se. On the overnight session, we're trying to maintain a bid right now, but we're still stifled around that 53.30-35 area. Time and time again, that's being held out as resistance. And if we consistently fail to accept into this distribution higher on the S&P, we're going to see that downward move. I don't think that this week is going to be that great or positive for equities. I think that we could start with a little bid earlier on in the week, and then things can change around the FOMC as well as earnings. A lot of people are trying to call bottoms, but I, for one, am not necessarily convinced of the capitulation to the downside as of yet. There are many internal factors like breadth and other things that I've taken note of that haven't necessarily seen what we might call a potential bottoming in these markets, or capitulation in these markets. We're not seeing something like that just yet. So it's going to be very important for the 55.10 region today to hold out for a bid to see if the buy side wants to step into this market realistically. Otherwise, if we start moving back below that, we've just failed to accept into this top band distribution above that 55.20 for now the third time, and we could see some more aggressive sell pressure coming in. Right now, even pre-market, we failed off that high and we're down about 15-20 points, right? There's aggression to the downside off of this movement, and these sellers haven't had the last laugh just yet, right? They're still pressing on. They're toying with the buyers. The buy side's weak on most rebids that I've seen last week. They've just been pitiful. And if we see a pop, right, a higher move at the start of the week, I do think it does get sold off into the end of the week. So I would like to see a little more bullish action to start this Monday and a bit of like Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, but ultimately fail around that 55, 50, 55 area above towards the top bands of this distribution, this larger big distribution that's created. And I think that anything under this 55, 10, 08 starts to look a little muddled for that buy side, and some sell pressure might be able to come out. So one main thing to watch, right, is going to be a trickier week to trade. Like I said, it starts tomorrow. Microsoft, AMD after the bell. Wednesday, not only the FOMC at 2 p.m. Eastern, but we also have the earnings from Meta, and then Thursday caps it off with Apple and Amazon earnings. So a lot. So with that being said, we're going to be here to navigate, right? We're going to open up our live trading room so we can be able to read and see where these markets go with a clear mind and understanding direction based on auctions and order flow. And if you want to check us out, remember, check out TradeProAcademy.com. And I'll see you guys tomorrow as we open up our live room now. So happy trading. Start it off slow, right? Take your time. See how this market wants to react to start the week. And we'll go from there. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.